Single Dad CEO revealed the incredible truth after his daughter's touching words saved his date. Jason stood in front of the bathroom mirror, adjusting his tie, the reflection staring back at him both familiar and alien. The high-stakes world of Silicon Valley had honed his presentation, yet beneath the polished exterior lay a tension that clawed at him. This dinner date was supposed to be a reprieve, a chance to momentarily escape the pressures of his startup. But questions buzzed in his mind like angry bees. Had he built a reality worth sharing beyond the confines of his office? Would he be enough, not just for himself, but for his daughter Emma? Could ambition and love coexist in this relentless race? Just be yourself, he whispered, but doubt punctured that mantra with every passing second. The dart of anxiety lodged deep in his chest twitched as he thought of Emma, tucked away with her crayons. She was a luminous presence in his life, a reminder that happiness didn't always come from profit margins or investor meetings. But that didn't quiet the nagging fear, the gnawing sensation that he was about to step onto a tightrope stretched taut with expectations. As he arrived at the trendy restaurant on the edge of the Mission District, the ambience buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses. There was a moment of comfort before the storm. He shared glances with his date, a brilliant engineer named Sarah. They'd often debated concepts over coffee, but now the stakes felt higher. Half of him was excited to reveal his authentic self, but another part of him feared that the moment would expose everything: his fears, his vulnerabilities in the face of uncertainty. Just as he was about to order, the phone buzzed in his pocket. It was Emma. He hesitated, glancing at Sarah, who offered a warm smile and invitation to focus on the night. But he couldn't resist. He answered. "Hey, kiddo." Her voice shone through, clear and direct. "Daddy, I just want you to be happy, because if you're happy, then I'm happy too." It was a simple statement, yet the gravity of it hit him like a wave crashing on the shore. The weight of his insecurities unfurled before him. Here he was, on the cusp of what could be a bright return to adulthood, settling for distraction, yet his daughter's innocent wisdom cut through the haze. As he gulped, the earlier banter began to fade. When Sarah mentioned her recent accomplishment, a snide comment from another colleague stung him sharper than any critique he faced in the tech realm. "You really think you can juggle both?" The voice echoed, superficially masked as a joke but laced with truth. Suddenly, Jason felt unsteady. Balancing on that precarious wire of ambition and familial commitment sent chills down his spine. Was he neglecting his daughter in pursuit of a future that felt Simon Says? He could rise to the top as the bearer of a startup legend, or he could stay grounded as Emma's father, committing to the struggle of both paths. The room narrowed down like a tunnel, and he could feel the weight of every eye at the table turning toward him, pressing in with their unspoken judgments. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Jason's thoughts churned as that moment solidified. What if he could embrace being a single dad and an ambitious CEO? Suddenly, it wasn't just about showing up to each meeting, but diving deep into conversation about what truly defines success. As his heart raced, he opened his mouth to speak, only to falter in that pregnant pause. This dinner wasn't merely a date, it was a pivotal crossroad, enmeshed in doubt and yearning for clarity. As he choked back the fear clawing at his throat, eyes still on him, Jason felt the tension crackle in the air, the room tightening like a band around his chest. What would he choose? Would he dare reveal the raw emotion that connected his life with Emma's wisdom, or would he continue down the path of silence, suffocating beneath expectations? The weight of uncertainty rested heavy, leaving Jason breathless, caught in the flame before its ignition. The moment stretched, ephemeral yet weighted, as Jason wrestled with his own internal turmoil. The laughter from nearby tables blurred into the background, supplanted by the pounding of his heart. Sarah's warm gaze anchored him, yet the stakes here felt monumental. Would revealing his vulnerabilities diminish him in her eyes, or could embracing them instead strengthen their mutual connection? Jason? Sarah's voice cut through the fog. He focused on her, the warmth of her concern cloaked in genuine curiosity. The sound of his name echoed like a lifeline. It demanded his attention and forced him to confront what he'd been avoiding. He cleared his throat, tasting the words he wanted to share, yet their texture felt foreign, like a rough draft scribbled in the margins of his mind. He paused, fighting the urge to retreat behind a veil of confident bravado. Instead, a flicker of clarity ignited within him. This could be a moment of revelation, not just for himself but for someone else standing at the precipice of judgment. What? She prompted, leaning in slightly, her expression shifting from amusement to intrigue. I want to talk about balance, he finally admitted, feeling vulnerable yet emboldened. Between being a dad and a CEO. It feels like I'm walking a tightrope sometimes. Her brow furrowed. How so? Jason let out a long breath, considering the implications of his words. Emma is my world, but the demands of the startup it's overwhelming. I often wonder if I'm more committed to my company than I am to being a good father. The admission felt raw and exposed, yet liberating, like lifting a weight that had long crushed him. Why does it have to be either or? Sarah questioned, her voice gentle yet probing. You're not just one thing. You're a father and a leader, intertwined. I assent that what makes you unique. His heart quickened as her viewpoint shifted something deep inside him. For so long, he decompartmentalized his life, and that compartmentalization lay the struggle. Could he meld both identities into a life that prospered? Would his daughter thrive in seeing him embrace both roles? He built his startup on innovation, yet hadn't he applied that same creativity to his personal life? You're right, he responded, a spark of determination igniting. I can't keep living in fear of failing at one while succeeding at the other. If I can motivate a team of engineers to push boundaries, surely I can find a way to connect with my daughter in a meaningful way. As they continued to talk, Jason's mind raced through possibilities. He saw visions of entrepreneurial ventures that allowed him to engage with Emma while building his career. What if his company focused on kid-friendly technology or educational apps? But then doubt crept back, a gnawing voice that reminded him of the skepticism surrounding work-life balance in the startup culture. Did those ideas hold merit, or were they naive sorrows conjured from his insecurities? The question hung in the air, disruptive yet necessary. In that fine line of vulnerability and strength, he felt the weight of another decision. Previously trapped by the dichotomy of his existence, could he challenge the norms and redefine what success truly meant to him? Not just in the boardroom, but in the living room, too. Sarah leaned closer, and he realized they were no longer at a restaurant surrounded by noise but at a confluence of thoughts, a crossing where their ambitions and values could converge into something greater. The more he spoke, the more he unwrapped his fears, turning them inside out. For every uncertain moment that struck him, he met it with enthusiasm. A revelation swelled within him, inviting clarity toward his fortune and failures alike. Vulnerability became his armor instead of a weakness. With a deep breath, Jason took a step forward. You know, I'm currently working on a pitch for the next funding round. Maybe I can incorporate that idea about tech for kids. I'll need your insights as a fellow engineer. Count me in, Sarah replied with a grin, her enthusiasm glowing brighter. As the conversation flowed, Jason's resolve stood tall, unyielding. He had the opportunity to change the narrative not just for his professional pursuit but to pave a brighter path as a father. This leap into authenticity would either ignite growth or cast him down into chaos. But the tension buzzed with exhilarating promise. Just as he leaned back, relaxed by the firm promise of collaboration, his phone buzzed again, a message from Emma. With his heart full, he opened it to see a simple, innocent drawing of a superhero and a heart overlaid, reminding him that both roles didn't have to compete. They could thrive in unison. But as he smiled, a faint flicker of apprehension crept in. Could he juggle this newfound ambition, the essence of a father and a CEO, without losing himself or his daughter in the process? The question loomed, leaving his mind racing yet filled with potential. The scene shifted. A path lay ahead, but the shadow of doubt loomed larger than before. What challenges awaited? Would the delicate balance he sought truly materialize, or would ambition unravel the fragile fabric he was trying to weave? Jason felt the weight of possibility resting heavily on his shoulders as he attempted to brainstorm ideas for his pitch. The juxtaposition of his roles as a father and a CEO shifted from a battleground to a fertile ground for innovation. Inspiration sparked by his conversation with Sarah now danced vibrantly in his mind. He envisioned tech design to engage children while providing convenience for parents, circling back to his own experiences with Emma and how finding balance could foster deeper connections. Yet that flicker of doubt pushed its way through, the kind of doubt that had cast shadows on his ambitions countless times before. Could he truly navigate these waters without sinking? He found himself standing at the crossroads of choice and fear, pondering what the right path would be. The nocturnal hum of the city served as a backdrop to his tumultuous thoughts. With its bright lights illuminating the uncertainty swirling within. He glanced toward Sarah, who was animatedly discussing app features and educational benefits. There was something in her expression and uninhibited passion that seemed to breathe life into their project. It dawned on him that her excitement was not just for the project but for making a difference in children's lives, rekindling the flame of motivation within him. If the startup culture revolved around innovation, why couldn't he innovate as a father as well? Imagine, Jason said, the words spilling forth eagerly, an app that bridges learning with fun. Not just games but interactive stories where parents could engage with their kids through collaborative narratives. We could even include real-time feedback so kids can see their growth and learning. Sarah's eyes lit up. That's brilliant! It not only enhances engagement, but builds meaningful memories. You could create moments with Emma and other parents garnered from your experiences. It's about creating a community of shared growth. The exhilaration flooded back. He had wanted to weave personal connections into his professional journey, and here it was materializing before his eyes. But the cravings of life as a startup CEO weighed heavily on him. Could he balance meetings and deadlines while nurturing his creative side? As Sarah shared more ideas, his mind slipped momentarily back into the daily grind of meetings, investor demands, and team pressures. Those questions began to surface again. If he delved into this new project, what would his company look like? How would he juggle the burgeoning expectations? Each thought wrestled against his aspirations, a storm brewing in the depths of his resolve. But just as he sensed this familiar storm, he reminded himself of Emma's drawing, the superhero she had crafted with painstaking care. It symbolized courage and heart amidst chaos. That simple message ignited something fierce in him, a desire to rise above fear and failure. He had begun this journey to create a better life, so why not extend that commitment to his relationship with Emma? Emboldened, he leaned into the uncertainty. Let us sketch out a plan, he proposed, feeling a newfound sense of agency. If we focus on our values, I think we can develop something that resonates with parents and kids alike. Maybe we can even run a workshop to get feedback from other fathers and mothers, get a feel of what they really want. Sarah nodded enthusiastically. We could integrate that with our pitch. This collaboration could set your company apart. It's market-friendly and family-oriented. In that alignment, the doubt shrank a little more, making way for determination. This wasn't just about building a startup. It was about transformation of his business, his legacy, and of how he perceived his partnership with Emma. The realization sent electricity coursing through him. But through that excitement stirred a new concern. Should he reveal this vulnerable side to his colleagues and investors? Would they understand his commitment to intertwining his roles without deeming his ambitions as weak? The fear of being perceived as an inexperienced father in a cutthroat industry gripped him. Just then, the phone buzzed again, this time a video call from Emma. With a frantic wave, he swiped to answer. Her radiant smile filled the screen. Daddy? Look, I made something else. She held up a drawing that encompassed everything from superheroes to stars, the vibrant colors illuminating her delightful imagination. His heart swelled, suddenly anchored by her radiant spirit. As she narrated her story behind the image, Jason caught glimpses of how his roles could blend seamlessly, inspiring him to reshape not just his pitch but his approach to parenthood as a whole. But as the conversation with Emma veered toward bedtime stories filled with adventure, a gnawing thought nestled in the back of his mind. Would he be able to maintain this momentum without losing touch with her reality? The question reverberated with increasing urgency. Amidst laughs and tender exchanges, he knew the stakes had shifted. The balance he sought was no longer specter but a challenge waiting to be conquered. With Emma tucked into bed after the call, he sat back pondering his next move. The time had come to release the inhibitions and face the challenge head-on, but the dilemma lingered. Could he embody the dual roles he yearned to harmonize while appeasing the high demands of the startup sphere? As the night waxed deeper, Jason steeled himself for the impending confrontation with the realities ahead, the pitch that could redefine everything. But an ache of uncertainty taunted him. Could he really juggle both worlds? The ground beneath him shifted, and he braced for the turbulence ahead. Jason stared at the laptop screen, the cursor blinking mockingly at him as if challenging his next move. The weight of expectation settled around him, the dreams of what could be entwining with the harsh reality he faced. The pitch deck lay before him, blank slides mocking his inability to translate inspiration into concrete ideas. As the minutes slipped away, he fought against the urge to retreat into familiar territory, data analyses, market trends, growth projections, but the real urge was to explore the emotional landscape of his project more deeply. His thoughts drifted back to Emma's drawing, her innocent perspective infusing his mind with clarity. In a world dominated by metrics, her voice had cut through the noise, revealing a different kind of truth. Children didn't just need educational games. They needed moments of connection, laughter, and adventure. That realization shifted something within him. He wasn't merely crafting an app, he was creating memories. Taking a deep breath, Jason opened a fresh document. This time he didn't focus on the specifics of technology or potential profitability. Instead, he began with a simple question: what do kids and parents treasure most? Genuine moments of engagement, shared stories, laughter, the things that cannot be quantified yet seed lasting connections. The answer stirred emotions he hadn't tapped into before, and he began to write. For the next hour, ideas tumbled out of him like the joyful chaos of his daughter's art supplies. Imagine interactive storybooks where children could choose the adventure and parents could join the narrative thread. Stories that reflected real-life experiences, using Emma as a muse. He envisioned a digital space where parents could document these moments, share them with friends, and foster a support network that enjoys the ups and downs of parenting together. Each idea felt like a stepping stone towards a vision that transcended the ordinary. But then doubt crept back in. Was he still being ambitious, or had he crossed into the realm of naivete? In the cutthroat startup world, could a focus on emotional narratives resonate with investors who often prioritized cold, hard financials? The tension stirred in him, pulling at his resolve. What if his vulnerability was misinterpreted as weakness? What if the idea was rooted in an overly sentimental father's wish fulfillment rather than market demand? Just as he felt the doubts tightening around him like a vice, a message popped up on his screen. It was from Sarah, an unexpected lifeline amidst his swirling chaos. "Can we meet in the morning?" It read. "I think we need to solidify our concept before the pitch. I believe in what you're building." Her words were buoyant, and Jason could hear the confidence in her tone even without the visual of her animated expressions. He leaned back in his chair, allowing the relief to wash over him momentarily. Perhaps he didn't have to navigate this alone. Perhaps sharing his vision, including the fears and aspirations interwoven with fatherhood, could resonate with the team and strengthen their cause. That night, he grappled with more than just a pitch. It was about redefining what success meant to him. His roles as CEO and father were not separate entities battling for dominance. They could collaborate, intersect, and empower one another. As Jason drifted to sleep, he envisioned the morning pitch. He would lead with his heart, sharing his vision for an app that could foster connection, love, and adventure. He imagined telling a story that began with Emma's bravery and creativity, inviting everyone to explore the emotional bond that ties a parent to a child through technology. But as the day's closing approached, a sharp realization hit him. Was he fully prepared to expose these vulnerabilities in a world that often dismissed sentimentality? Would his colleagues embrace this authentic approach, or would they dismiss it as impractical? The questions buzzed in his mind, filling him with an unseen tension that lingered, unshakable. With one final thought, he acknowledged he was at a precipice not just for his startup but for himself. There was an inner battle to face, and the outcome could redefine not only his career but also the relationship he cherished most. The dawning sun drew him from the depths of thought. Tomorrow was crucial, and as he gathered his things and prepared to face the new day, the weight returned, stark and undeniable. Could he truly present this version of himself to the team and investors? The question remained, echoing in his mind, filling him with both anticipation and unease. Could revealing this depth lead to the transformation he sought, or would it only amplify the stakes? Tomorrow's pitch awaited, and the moment of truth was closing in fast. Jason woke up with the sun splashing over his bedroom walls, casting playful shadows that danced across the ceiling. The echo of his internal struggle from the night before clung to him like a persistent fog. He quickly bathed in a moment of clarity. Today wasn't just about business. It was about speaking from his heart and merging his professional ambitions with his personal journey. As he dressed, his mind played over the possibilities. What if he started the meeting not with numbers, but with a story? A story that underscored his belief in the power of connection. He imagined how his colleagues would respond, perhaps taken aback initially but eventually moved. It was a gamble, yet it felt necessary. Yet, as he navigated his morning routine, brushing his teeth, brewing coffee, pouring cereal for Emma, doubt crept in yet again. What if they dismissed his vision as emotional fluff? What if they didn't see its market potential? He could almost hear the chatter of skepticism. "Dad, you look stressed," Emma said, eyes wide like saucers as she took a seat at the kitchen table. He paused, weighing her innocent concern against his rising anxiety. "Just a big meeting today, kiddo. Are you going to talk about your app?" she asked with a mouthful of cereal. "Yeah," he replied, smiling. "Something like that." Her face lit up with enthusiasm. "Are you going to make it fun like my drawing?" That innocent question struck a chord deep within him. Fun. Most business pitches dance around fun like it was a liability, an afterthought. "Exactly, Em," he found himself saying. "Fun is the point." As they shared breakfast, he felt a shift. Her unwavering faith in his vision was a reminder of the pure joy and adventure that lay at the heart of parenting, and that, he realized, was exactly what he wanted to encapsulate in his pitch. When he arrived at the office, the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. Sarah was already waiting, her expression a mix of encouragement and curiosity. "You ready for this?" she asked, her tone brimming with cautious optimism. "I think so," he replied, pulling her aside for a moment. "I want to shift the narrative. I want to start with a story rather than the typical numbers. It's more than just an app, it's about connection." Sarah tilted her head, evaluating him. "You're really leaning into this emotionally, aren't you?" "I have to," Jason admitted, feeling a rush of vision and vulnerability. "Emma helped me see that." Sarah's eyes softened, and he could sense her understanding. "Then let us make sure your passion shines through. Start with your truth." The conference room was a sea of faces, some familiar, others foreign. Investors and colleagues gathered, chattering under the harsh fluorescent lights. The pressure began to mount as Jason stood in front of the projector. Heart pounding, he flipped through the slides, conscious of the anticipative silence that filled the room. The doubtful buzz from earlier resurfaced, but that light from Emma's drawing flickered somewhere inside him. "Thank you for being here," he began, his voice steadying as he focused on the one crucial element, forgetting the doubts, shifting the narrative. "I want to share a story with you today for the next few moments." Jason immersed himself in the tale of Emma and her creative imagination, weaving in emotions that had long been suffocated by metrics and growth plans. He shared anecdotes about their shared laughter, their adventures, and the moments of connection that belied mere numbers. He could feel eyes shifting, unsure whether to embrace or reject his emotional direction. A few raised eyebrows indicated skepticism, but he pressed on, unyielding. The weight lifted, clarity and focus blossomed as he infused authenticity into his words. Yet, halfway through, a voice broke through the silence. Frank, one of the senior investors, interrupted. But how does this translate to revenue? Emotion is great, but we need a viable model here. The challenge landed heavy, a stark reminder of the world he was trying to navigate: emotion versus practicality. Jason's resolve hardened. The moment demanded a response. The app isn't just about revenue, it's about understanding what parents like me want, he countered, the words flowing with newfound conviction. We crave connection. If we can create an app that supports meaningful parent-child interactions, the financials will follow. I've seen it firsthand. Silence descended again, but this time it felt different, pregnant with possibility. As he eyed the room, he sensed the hinges of perception shifting. And just like that, Jason was no longer just a father and a CEO at odds. He was beginning to see himself as a catalyst for a movement, one that fused emotion with purpose, seeking to chart a path rarely traversed. But the question haunted him: would his newfound self continue to resonate in a world that often valued cold calculations over warm connections? The pitch, while productive, could still backfire. At that moment, the sense of urgency surged within him. He would need to confront not just the doubts of his colleagues but the deeper fear that echoed through him, the fear of being inadequate, the fear of pushing what could be perceived as sentimentalism. As Jason wrapped up, staring into the eyes of his colleagues, he challenged not just their perceptions but his own sense of self-worth. The presentation had transformed into a reflection of who he was beginning to understand he could be. The end of the pitch was merely the beginning of a more profound journey. As the applause began, a question lingered in his mind: could he sustain this momentum, or was today merely a fleeting glimpse of what could be? The walls of uncertainty loomed large, ready to challenge him anew. The road ahead remained perilous, filled with obstacles that would test everything he was learning in business and in fatherhood. Jason stepped out of the conference room, his heartbeat still resonating in his ears like a drumroll echoing through a vast hall. The applause felt like a warm embrace, but the lingering question of whether his heartfelt approach would resonate beyond the moment haunted him. The heavy pressure of expectation cloaked his shoulders as he navigated the bustling office, searching for a sense of peace amidst the chaos. Sarah intercepted him, her eyes sparkling with admiration. "You did it, Jason. You made them listen," she cheered, her enthusiasm a balm to his frayed nerves. "Yeah, but did they really hear me?" he murmured, recalling Frank's skeptical interruption. That voice hung over him like a storm cloud. "I feel like I took a risk, but I'm not sure it paid off." She placed a hand on his arm, grounding him. "You may be surprised by the impact you've made. Change doesn't happen overnight, it's a process. Sometimes, just planting seeds is the most significant step." Jason nodded, though his mind swirled with doubt. The memory of Emma's cheerful face flitted through his thoughts, and he felt a flicker of resolve. He had wanted to create something meaningful, but did he have what it took to make that vision sustain? As evening set in and the office quieted, Jason found himself at his desk, contemplating his next moves. He pulled open the laptop, ready to dive back into market research. His thoughts, however, pulled him back to the heart of his pitch. Listening to their skepticism, he realized he had to address the underlying fears within himself as well. What if he focused not only on the app but also on the business model that could complement its purpose? Combining emotion with strategic planning might be the bridge he needed. He could create something compelling, something that would secure financial backing while remaining true to his mission. Time slipped away, and the office plunged into darkness, the only light emanating from his computer screen. His thoughts raced as he typed fervently, sketching out ideas for monetizing features that upheld his vision of connection. But beneath the excitement, another fear crept in, the fear of personal inadequacy. Was nurturing strong relationships something he genuinely understood? Balancing professional ambition with being a father had always felt like a juggling act, and now, it seemed even more daunting. If he was serious about blending these two worlds, he had to learn to trust himself deeply. He suddenly remembered Emma's drawing, a simple collage of colors and shapes that articulated her world better than words ever could. Was there a lesson there? Creativity and simplicity could shine through fear and complication. He needed to inspire not just investors, but also himself. The following days became a whirlwind as he took Sarah's words to heart, pushing boundaries between heart and business. He initiated brainstorming sessions with the team, inviting feedback and ideas to cultivate an environment that celebrated both emotional intelligence and market viability. During an afternoon meeting, he suggested they gamify parent-child interactions through the app. What if they included challenges that promoted family bonding and received rewards? It felt like an exciting fusion of creativity and practicality, making the app compelling while holding true to his mission. Even as the project developed, he couldn't ignore the unsettling feeling creeping back in. Would this method still feel genuine, or was he straying from the essence of his original vision? He knew hesitation would only breed further insecurity. He had to confront these fears boldly, marching toward clarity rather than avoidance. One night, after tucking Emma into bed, he decided to share his journey with her. Sitting at the bedside, he showed her mock-ups of the app, explaining how he wanted it to help families bond. "What do you think, Em?" he asked, hopeful for her youthful perspective. Her brows knitted in concentration, she pondered. "I like the idea, Daddy. But can we make sure it's fun? Like games?" Her innocent enthusiasm ignited. Something in him a reminder of the joy buried beneath his professional aspirations. "Absolutely. We'll make it the funnest app ever." As he leaned down to kiss her goodnight, a realization struck him. This wasn't simply about creating an app. It was about crafting a legacy, blending the lessons of his personal life with his professional growth. In the days that followed, Jason sought to fully embrace this newfound clarity, binding emotion with practicality. Yet, deep within, he felt the shadows of doubt lingering, threatening to eclipse this momentum. Would he be able to silence that nagging voice of skepticism not only from others but from himself? Each night, as he returned from work, he vowed to keep pushing forward, fueled by Emma's laughter and his own desire to be more than just a businessman. He aspired to be an impactful storyteller and visionary. But as he prepared for the next investor presentation, the weight of expectation pressed heavily against his chest. Could he stand firm against the storm of judgment? The question lingered in the air, pregnant with uncertainty. A test of his fortitude was on the horizon. Would he evolve into the leader he envisioned, or would fear undermine his potential? The morning of the investor presentation dawned, but Jason's mind churned with anxiety. As he dressed for the day, he considered the upcoming encounter not as a chance to present his app, but as a stage where he would lay bare his soul's desires and fears. Would they see him as more than just another pitchman? Halfway through buttoning his shirt, he caught a glimpse of Emma's drawing still taped to the refrigerator. The vibrant colors reminded him that creativity thrived in joy. He felt a resolve building within him. He would approach the presentation not as a mere businessman but as a passionate father who longed to foster connections. Arriving at the venue, a sleek conference room with polished surfaces and distant murmurs of power players, Jason steeled himself. The sight of his audience, seasoned investors with discerning eyes, was intimidating. They appeared calculated, but in that very moment, Jason recalled Sarah's words about planting seeds. Perhaps today was about sowing those seeds of inspiration and vision. He opened with a story, heartfelt and raw. As a single father, I often find myself reflecting on the moments with my daughter, Emma. One day, I asked her what makes her happiest, and she said, "When we play together, Daddy." That spoke to me more than any market statistic ever could. The room shifted slightly, heads turned with curiosity, eyes softening. His narrative threaded through their need for deeper familial connections, emphasizing how his app was designed to create those important moments, transforming mundane interactions into shared adventures. Each slide transitioned seamlessly, with visuals of Emma's artwork interspersed, grounding his pitch in the simple beauty of family life. He felt the blend of emotion and strategy click into place, awakening a reassuring confidence within him. But as he opened the floor for questions, a familiar face Frank broke through the warmth he had woven. "Jason, this seems like a noble endeavor, but aren't you worried this approach could be perceived as just a gimmick? Families might overlook the substance for the allure of games." A chill swept over him. Frank's words struck a nerve, reverberating with the self-doubt that had flourished in the corner of his mind. Jason felt the weight of expectation press down again. But he couldn't let the skepticism reshape his vision. He squared his shoulders and met Frank's gaze, unfurling the layers of fear that had built inside him. "I appreciate your concern, Frank," Jason began, voice steady. "But I believe families yearn for connection, and fun is a gateway to that connection. I've seen it through Emma's eyes and realized that our approach lacks value only if we fail to engage their hearts alongside their minds." The audience murmured, some nodding in agreement. He had ignited a spark, perhaps raising their hopes for genuine impact. As Frank shifted slightly in his seat, the room seemed to take a collective breath, pondering the validity behind his conviction. After the presentation, he retreated for a moment, a pocket of quiet space amidst the buzz of congratulatory chatter and murmurs of potential partnerships. The adrenaline still coursed through his veins, but within it lay a newfound strength, like a robust foundation beneath his ambitions. That evening, as he prepared dinner with Emma by his side, Jason shared snippets of his day, her laughter intermingling with his triumphs. "And then, Daddy said it's not just about games," she exclaimed, drawing out the last syllable playfully. He watched as she poured her energy and enthusiasm into life, and it struck him he was not just on a path of professional growth, but a journey to reclaim joy in his life by intertwining it with purpose and passion. As bedtime approached, Emma curled up with her favorite book while Jason considered the response he would receive from investors in the following days. Would their initial intrigue blossom into partnership, or falter under examination? His heart still ached with trepidation, the looming possibility of rejection mingled with the hope of acceptance. The fusion of fear and ambition pushed him to the brink of self-discovery. But it wasn't just about their approval, it was his acceptance that demanded attention. Embracing both personal aspirations and his duty as a father were rapidly becoming the same pursuit. The moment of clarity dawned within him. The path before him might require risk, vulnerability, and possibly facing deeper questions about his own worthiness and fears. Yet, deeper down, he could sense something stirring, an inherent strength that demanded to be acknowledged. Would he rise to claim it? The time for reckoning had come. The days ahead would reveal whether he could merge his roles into one unified story, or if he would find himself trapped once again in the shadow of doubt. With a slow exhale, he whispered to the darkness cloaking his thoughts, "I am ready." The next morning, a surge of optimism enveloped Jason as he encountered the new day. The sun filtered through the blinds, casting warm beams across his kitchen, illuminating Emma's breakfast table artwork. It served as a vivid reminder of his priorities. The invigorating aroma of scrambled eggs mixed with the scent of fresh coffee created an ambience where dreams were tangible, begging to be pursued. With every bite of breakfast, he found himself mulling over the comments from the presentation. Frank's skepticism still echoed in his ears, but instead of fear, it sparked a desire to double down on his vision. He could either stay stagnant, anchored by doubt, or choose to harness those challenging words as fuel for innovation. He envisioned the potential realm his app could unlock, an engaging platform that not only entertained but altered how families interacted, connecting them on a deeper level. A surge of determination washed over him. Before heading out to pick up Emma's dry cleaning, a decision loomed. The investors had requested a follow-up meeting to address concerns, a forum where their commitment would be tested against Frank's critiques. They wanted clarity about the app's functionality and its potential revenue stream. Could Jason reaffirm his belief in the mission? It was time to sharpen his strategy, to transform his emotional resonance into a framework actionable enough to silence dissent. Sitting in his car, he turned the steering wheel toward the library to fetch a few business books he had empty promises of reading long ago. While buried among the titles, he stumbled upon a well-worn guide about emotional intelligence in business processes. Flipping through the pages, he absorbed lessons on effective communication, audience engagement, and the art of storytelling in pitches. Jason felt a swell of inspiration. As he stood in the aisle, he realized this was more than about investors. This was about understanding himself, the connection between his roles as a father and a visionary. The weight of being a single father had driven him into a corner where success was about more than profit margins. It was about creating lasting legacies for Emma. Reflections of his life intertwined with his ambitions, illuminating a path where both could flourish. Back home, Jason laid out a blueprint for the presentation that could shift perspectives. He needed to frame his app as a tool for legacy building, a means for families to create lasting memories and traditions while enjoying fun activities together. He would lean heavily on his story, intertwining Emma's whimsical drawings and laughter with solid statistics. Each point reinforced how this app wasn't merely a product for sale, but a bridge to deeper familial engagement. Days melted into a society of preparation. Every quiet moment was filled with reading, writing, practicing. Stress lingered, but beneath it was an undercurrent of purpose. He frequently sought Emma's input on how she played, what made her smile, and what fun really meant from her perspective. Each interaction fueled his commitment. The gaps he sought to fill echoed through their shared adventures. As he drove Emma to school, he posed a question, longing for her innocent wisdom. "What do you think makes families spend more time together?" She tapped her chin, contemplative. "I think it's about having fun, Daddy. Like when we build those pillow forts or go to the park." Her eyes sparkled with excitement. There it was. Fun, connection, engagement, that was the platform's heart. With her laughter ringing in his mind, Jason began to see the meeting differently. It wouldn't just be an exploratory dialogue with investors. It would be a showcase for the family's heartfelt need to be together, a clarion call for the potential the app possessed. The night before the meeting, a blend of nerves and excitement thrummed through him. Each breath was a reminder of what was at stake, not just for his company, but also for Emma's future. He felt the heaviness of legacy pressing down, both a burden and a blessing. His phone pinged with a text from Frank, asking for additional insights he promised to provide later. The question lingered, what more could he say? Did he still hold back pieces of his soul, fearing their reaction? Jason smiled, realizing he had the power to wield vulnerability as a tool. The anxiety morphed into fuel. "Tomorrow," he whispered, "I'll show them what this truly means." Yet, as the clock ticked closer to time for the meeting, doubt flickered again. Would they believe in his vision? Would he risk it all once more? As he drifted off to sleep, one thought persisted. The time had come to face his inner critic and challenge the shadows that had clouded his potential for too long. But would he find certainty in his own voice, or would fear lead him astray? Jason awoke to the soft vibrations of his alarm. The golden light of dawn seeped through the curtains, but it felt muted compared to the storm of thoughts swirling in his head. As he prepared for the day, his heart raced at the approaching meeting. Would this presentation redefine his path? Or would it bury him under yet more skepticism? As he brewed coffee, Jason couldn't help but revisit Emma's words from the day before. They replayed like a mantra, reminding him of all the purpose that lay behind his vision for the app. It wasn't just about family connection, it was his chance to prove to himself that he could blend the roles of father and innovator. Each sip of coffee felt like an anchor tethering him to his resolve. After a breakfast packed with his daughter's drawings, he left for his office, reminders of Emma scattered strategically in his car, her art pinned above the dashboard, her laughter still echoing in the silence. Those elements centered him, enriching his determination. This meeting was a test not just of his app but of his resilience, authenticity, and vision. Arriving at the office, he was met by a flurry of email notifications. Each ping was a pulse of potential opportunity, but in his focus on the meeting, they felt like distractions. Wasting no time, he dove deep into final preparations, practicing his pitch while pacing the conference room late into the morning. And then came the moment he had been both anticipating and dreading. The investors arrived, their faces a blend of curiosity and doubt as they slid into their seats. Jason glanced at Frank, whose skepticism had loomed heavily over him since the last meeting. Determined to banish those shadows, he launched into his presentation. With clarity and purpose, he began, weaving statistics and emotional anecdotes drawn from his life with Emma. He showcased relatable scenarios, illustrating how the app fostered genuine connections. Each slide was rich with data yet laced with earnest emotion and intricate dance between cold facts and warm family memories. For every doubt whispered in the boardroom, he remembered Emma's laughter, transforming anxiety into conviction. Yet, as he spoke, he noticed Frank's brows furrowing in scrutiny. The pressure intensified. The specter of doubt loomed once more, taunting him with reminders of all that could go wrong. "Could you clarify the revenue model?" Frank interjected, his eyes piercing. The question cut deeply. Jason felt the weight of disappointment creeping in, an unwelcome visitor lurking in the corners of his mind. But instead of faltering, something within him ignited. "Absolutely," he responded, every syllable tempered with newfound strength. "Our revenue model is built around subscription since families today seek value for sustaining their engagement. Each season, new activities will encourage families to continually share and reconnect, thereby reshaping their experiences into lasting memories." He could feel the tide shifting slightly. There was something about pushing back against skepticism that fueled him. Affirming his points with conviction, he laid out projections and scenarios, almost envisioning how families would transform their interactions through his app. The rhythm of his voice picked up as he spoke, enthusiasm blending seamlessly with professionalism. Yet when the meeting ended, the relief was tinged with uncertainty. Frank nodded thoughtfully but offered no clear affirmation. Compliments from other investors felt muted, overshadowed by doubt about their true intentions. Could they see what he saw? As Jason left the conference room, a sense of deflation crept in. Did he truly convince them of the app's vision? Or had he stumbled, revealing too much of a personal stake? Each step toward his office felt heavier than the last, trapping his thoughts in spirals. He needed clarity. Instead of returning to his desk, Jason walked out into the courtyard. The sun cut through the cloudy sky, illuminating the world around him. Pale autumn leaves rustled in the breeze, mirroring his swirling emotions. He took a deep breath, feeling the air fill his lungs as he navigated his next steps. In that quiet moment, he realized that while he hoped for their endorsement, the conviction of his vision needed to first resonate within him. He was not merely an entrepreneur, he was a father determined to leave a legacy. Back at his desk, Jason opened his journal and began to pen his thoughts, untangling the intricate web of pride, fear, and commitment. Each word was a declaration of his belief, affirming the path he was carving. But as he concluded his notes, a text from Frank emerged, simple yet striking. "Can we meet again later? There's much to discuss." Suddenly, the game wasn't over. What new directions would emerge, and how would he navigate this unexpected turn? Jason could feel the stakes amplifying. The journey had veered into uncharted territory. Would he rise to the challenge again, or would this twist lead him into familiar walls of uncertainty? The real test was yet to come. Jason leaned back in his chair, the weight of the unexpected text from Frank sending ripples through his thoughts. What more could be discussed? He had laid everything on the table. The idea of additional scrutiny filled him with trepidation. Yet buried beneath the anxiety lingered a glimmer of hope. He had emerged from the previous meetings bolstered by a newfound understanding of his dual identity, father and CEO, and now lay at the threshold of further transformation. The afternoon passed in a blur of preparations. Every ounce of nervous energy sharpened his focus. He instinctively knew that this meeting could either amplify his vision or bury it once more under waves of doubt. He needed to prepare himself, not just for a business discussion but for a reaffirmation of his beliefs, the authentic embrace of vulnerability that had guided his journey. When he walked into the small conference room for the follow-up meeting, Jason was struck by a scene distinctly different from before. This time, the atmosphere felt charged, pregnant with possibility. Frank was waiting, along with a handful of investors, their faces etched with curiosity rather than skepticism. "Thank you for meeting with me again," Jason began, voice steady as he maintained eye contact. "I wanted to take this opportunity to address any concerns regarding our approach and the revenue model. I believe deeply in both the emotional and financial viability of this project. But first, I'd like to share a story that sparked the genesis of the app." The room quieted as he began to weave his narrative, deeper than before, fully embracing the intertwining stories of personal experience and professional ambition. He spoke of Emma's laughter, their shared moments of creating artwork, and how the application could redefine family engagement, transforming fleeting moments into treasured memories. With each word, he felt the tension within him shift. This was not just about selling an app. It was about sharing a vision that resonated with something deeply human. As he articulated the finer points of his business strategy, he injected a call to action. This app isn't only a product. It's an invitation, a tool for families to create shared experiences. That is its core value, and aligning profits with purpose is not only our goal but necessary for sustained engagement. Frank listened intently, occasionally nodding. When it came time for questions, the atmosphere felt less combative, more collaborative. Investors sought clarification on points, yet Jason could hear the shift in their tone, an openness emerging. "Your approach is intriguing," Frank said, observing Jason with a contemplative gaze. "But how do you intend to keep user engagement high beyond the initial excitement?" Jason seized the opportunity, responding confidently, through continual innovation. "We'll regularly update with news stories, challenges, seasonal themes, and community-driven events that invite feedback and foster connections. Our focus is on cultivating a platform where families can evolve together." Each increasingly probing inquiry turned into an opportunity for Jason to demonstrate the app's potential, while revealing the passion that fueled his vision. The meeting flowed, each dialogue enhancing his sense of belonging in this space. This critical juncture was as much about validating his consciousness in the venture as it was about pitching a business idea. At the end of the meeting, as he concluded, appreciation emanated from Frank and the investors. As they expressed renewed interest and requested further data on their engagement strategy, Jason felt a rush of accomplishment. He had transformed skepticism into collaborative dialogue. Weeks soon turned into months, and the subsequent pitch honed into a concrete business model amidst continuous feedback and creativity. The team embraced a blend of heartful engagement and defined strategies, allowing Jason to harness both aspects with skill and grace. More importantly, the company's unfolding triumphs echoed through the lens of his experience as a father. It focused not merely on monetary success but on the journey of cultivating meaningful family interactions. Then came the day of launch, a day he had envisioned not just as a professional milestone but as a celebration of his journey toward integrating all aspects of his life. As families began connecting through his app, warmth filled him. Emma's earlier enthusiasm resonated even stronger. He was indeed creating a legacy. Standing amidst colleagues, he understood his growth was not confined to professional boundaries. He had conquered the fear of vulnerability. Jason realized that weaving emotion seamlessly into his corporate aspirations allowed him to navigate the complex journey of willingly embracing both roles, a father and a visionary. As he watched families engage with the platform, sharing joyful moments and forging connections, it dawned on him, he had achieved not just business success but personal fulfillment. He had forged a path where loving connection and ambition coexisted harmoniously, ultimately shaping a brighter future for him and Emma. Now, more than ever, Jason felt empowered. Today was not just a testament to what he had built, but an ongoing journey and unwavering commitment to thriving as a father, innovator, and change-maker. To those who resonate with stories of personal transformation, your journey awaits. You need to subscribe now to our channel to witness the next chapter of transformative journeys. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our mission. Comment below with your thoughts and theories about Jason's journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to amplify these stories together.